Byrd lives in a world where books deemed subversive are pulped and turned into toilet paper. He is raised by his father, once a linguist who now works in a library shelving books that have not yet been banned. The shelves are quite empty. America is living under PACT, the Preserving American Culture and Traditions Act, which was passed into law during a destabilizing time known as the crisis. PACT is the big brother organization we've become familiar with in fascist regimes, in fiction and in history. One that legislates neighbors report any suspicions they have of their neighbors about being un-American. There is nothing new about scapegoating a community or culture in our country. In this story, it is the Asian American community who is blamed for the crisis. Byrd's memories of his Chinese American mother are vague. She left when he was quite young. Now in his 12th year, he starts to question the ways of his society and his mother's disappearance. Eventually, he learns her leaving was the worst of choices his parents felt forced to make to keep him safe. For, as in all times and in all stories of fantasy and fact, there is resistance to this authoritarian, say the word for me. Thank you, control. A phrase from a poem written by Byrd's mother is chosen by the resistance movement as the centerpiece of their protest art, Our Missing Hearts. Under PACT, the children of parents considered culturally or politically subversive are replaced in foster families, never again to be reunited with their own families. The slogan, Our Missing Hearts, shows up at each protest to call attention to the missing children. When PACT figures out the link between slogan and poem, Byrd's family is terrorized. His mother goes into hiding. She leaves Byrd with his father, who is white, and they cut off all contact with one another. They hope if dad can prove mom is no longer part of their lives, PACT won't take Byrd away. There is a long history in the United States and elsewhere of removing children as a means of political control, says author Celeste Ng, the author of the book, Our Missing Hearts. As we examine inequities in the foster system, actions at our southern border, and the passage of anti-trans bills across the country, this book hits home because it mirrors reality. Whether it be Superman, Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, His Dark Materials, Star Wars, The Avengers, Lord of the Rings, I have read a lot of fantasy, and I know a lot of you have here too. We could go on, but we identify with these stories of heroes and heroines as Missing Hearts is in quite a way as well, because they are narratives in which goodness eventually overcomes evil, in which those restrained find liberation, even if it's only within their own selves. These stories are meaningful because we want the same goodness and freedom for ourselves, those we love, and all peoples. This is why our community and those aligned with similar values of inclusion, equity, and justice are vital. We are a life-saving faith with a life-saving mission and message, a message that all are welcome and embraced, and an abiding love so great, it can overcome the barriers that the power-hungry in society would use and seek to divide us. In a world increasingly polarized and violent, when some people are told they do not belong, I wonder how many of us have brought our children with us to this congregation so that they may be surrounded by people who think differently, who are committed to values that include inclusion and anti-racism and kindness and justice. Maybe some of you brought your children here a few decades ago under similar circumstances. We gather here to know, in a world in which people make hateful decisions beyond our comprehension and outside of our values, that we are not alone. We come together to feel goodness, to be goodness. And we know it's not all righteous fervor. We have a lot of fun here too, with like-hearted people who believe in joy, in celebration as much as our ideals. May we find strength and courage for our communal and individual resistance. Poet and composer Elizabeth Alexander writes, "Be real with me. Start to heal with me so we can live courageously. There are no other people's heartaches. There are no other people's injuries. There are no other people's children in this world." And adults, that includes us too, because we all are children of the universe. But let's focus on the children and youth members of this community for a bit. Weren't they wonderful today and all that they were able to share? We are grateful that our congregation seeks to care for the children and youth who attend this congregation as all of our children. For a variety of reasons, not all congregations, Unitarian Universalists included, are able to hold a service of celebration as we are today. The pandemic was hard, my friends. Very, very, very. We attribute the current vitality here to a few things. We have committed families who bless us with their gifts and honor us with their trust. To our families active with us before the pandemic, when the world shut down and our offerings were almost entirely online, you did all you could to keep yourself and your children connected, whether by logging in for worship, on a Zoom gathering with other kids their age, showing up for the outdoor events we were able to hold on holidays. You were there. And to you and all the families that have joined us this year, despite all the competing activities in yours and your children's lives, you make congregational life a priority. We know some of you come to our Sunday programs between one sports game and then leave quickly to get to the next. We understand that after full weeks, getting the kids out the door on Sunday is rough. Please arrive late. Some of you do, and that's great because we are simply delighted that you arrive. Families, we are better for your making the choice to be here and for your participation in all of our ministries. We are also grateful to have dedicated, caring, and fun volunteers leading our programs. We are aware of congregations, again, including Unitarian Universalist, that do not have similar volunteer support. Now, many factors affected the ability of congregations to sustain children and youth ministries. Volunteerism is not the only concern after the pandemic. However, if we did not have dedicated volunteers, we too could experience a less active program. We are grateful that when our families arrive, we have something to offer. Children and youth ministry volunteers, leaders, assistants, parent helpers, children and youth that come to help with special events. The egg hunt would never happen without other young people putting together the eggs and hiding the eggs for the younger folks. It is a joy and privilege to work with you. And to all of us, may we not take volunteerism for granted. We will always have some leaders that need to transition into new roles and responsibilities in their personal lives and leadership within our congregation, and they may not be able to serve next year. We expect openings. and we hope you will consider filling one. It's also important to recognize that we as a congregation get that a quiet congregation is a dead congregation. Rebecca always gets my jokes. So let us continue to embrace the wiggles and the little feet and prayers in form of baby chatter and children dancing or running through our riles, because all expressions of figuring out what it is to be human together are welcome. Thank you for continuing all of us to receive the fullness of our young people, because they are our own. And the number one gratitude, the ones that put the vital in our vitality, children and youth, it is you. We love you. We love that you are so comfortable here, that you make new friends and you share openly. Your silliness is infectious and your thoughtfulness is noticed. Thank you for being you. And a special note for our older children and youth. We can't fully know what it is to be you, but we know being a human is hard, that growing up is hard, that we have unexpected life transitions and we have relationships that are hard. Being a young person in the world you live in today can be difficult and sometimes scary. And I believe you get that. And while I and the other adults here are not experiencing the same pressures you are, we did have our own versions, yes, of scary and difficult growing up. We hope we can co-create a brave space here with you where you don't have to hide how you're feeling. And even though it makes you uncomfortable, we are going to gush over you just like we do to our younger ones, because we love you. And if you need support, you and your families can reach out to me, to Rev Bill, to others within the congregation. But for Rev Bill and I, we are your ministers too. And as you question our society, tell us the hard truths you discover. Demand when you need to that we do more. When books are banned, and we know in some places your books are being banned, like birds were, or when yours or your friends or any person's human rights and dignity are threatened, when a person or a public institution are unkind, unjust, or just plain ugly, know that you can share that with us. We may not always be able to fix it, but we can journey through it with you. And we will do our best to be an example of goodness with you, to be the resistance with you. And may we adults continue to be of goodness with one another as well, and be proactive in the places we can to prepare a better way for our children and not expect that they have to pave that way themselves. We won't be able to rid the world from all of its oppressions, but still trying, knowing that is where hope rests. That is where resistance is born. There are no other people's children. May we care for and celebrate one another inside and outside of these walls on Sundays and beyond. Amen, and blessed be. So children and youth, just quickly, you created all these beautiful tokens of appreciation, and we have tokens of appreciation for you. There are little stones in Robinson Lounge that say "You rock" on them, because you do. You can put them in your pockets, in your school bags, in your room, on your desk, any place where you might need a reminder that you rock. And they won't be hard to find because they are next to the cupcakes that we brought especially for you. There are also things, of course, always for our vegans and gluten-frees and others next to those too. So they're for the children and the guides. We'll let them get to them first. And then, of course, we can then attack the cupcakes after that. We have extinguished our flame, but not the delight that it symbolizes among us. If you have come today seeking peace, may comfort wrap you in its embrace. If you have come seeking inspiration, May you leave sustained to address the world's great unrest. Go forth from here, trusting in your worth and the value and dignity of all beings of which we are connected in the mystery and wonder of abiding love. Amen, and blessed be.